Hi, welcome back to the Fuzzy Files. I want to say thank you so much for being here, and also thank you to the 10th subscriber. That's right, I have 10 subscribers. I hope I get more, but I'll be happy with that for right now. Anyway, last time I talked to you about how to seal the deal with the interview/meet and greet. You know, there are lots of great things to make yourself look professional and all that because you want to get the client, usually. So this time I'm going to talk to you about what to do when you get there and you realize you do not want the client. Now, there are going to be red flags sometimes when you speak to them on the phone if you are using the phone to communicate and not time to pet. I actually preferred using the phone because you really don't get a sense of the client unless you're speaking with them. And it can just come across as a tone of voice. It can come across in how they describe their dogs to you, because they might not put that in writing on time to pet. And I keep saying time to pet on all my videos because that's what I use, but please don't take that as any endorsement one way or the other. So I preferred talking on the phone because sometimes you might just get a feeling and you might just have to tell them, I'm sorry. One of the most difficult things about turning down a client is knowing how to do it tactfully, because the last thing you want is to be rude or dismissive or to engender bad feelings that might result in them leaving some kind of bad review on you. So if you're dealing with a client that just seems to be rude or dismissive, you could just say, let me check my schedule, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm not available, or I'm sorry, I don't go to your area, or whatever. You don't want to say, you sound really rude, so I don't want to deal with you, but try to find a tactful way to get out of it. It's harder when it's on the phone, but when you go to someone's house in person, it's also hard, but you can always call later and have a real reason. I mean, I'm not suggesting you lie to people, but sometimes we do have to stretch the truth in order to be tactful. A little white lie is better than hurting someone's feelings. Let's start with one scenario. So you get to somebody's house and they answer the door, they let you in, and they're on the phone. And they knew you were coming, and they're just on the phone having this conversation, and they just kind of point to the couch telling you to sit down. And 20 minutes later, they come back to talk to you. They don't apologize, and they're just trying to rush you out the door when they were the ones who took up your time. This is definitely a red flag. You don't want to deal with people like that because they're not going to be nice to you in the future. It's pretty much, I mean, it's possible they're having a bad day, but you don't do that when you have an appointment with somebody. You might want to say, I just don't think this is going to be a good fit. That is really the best thing to put to someone instead of being rude. And you don't have to say why. You just say, I have to go with my instincts on things, and I just don't think this is going to be a good fit, and be done with it. Another one, you go to somebody's house. They sounded absolutely pleasant on the phone. And then you get inside and you are hit in the face with the smell of urine. I have had that happen, and it is awkward because you just didn't understand when you spoke to them that their pets pee all over the house. And you have to realize that when you do an interview with someone, you want to start on the phone because you want to ask questions. You need a list of questions to ask the potential client. You need to ask them, do your pets have accidents in the house? Are your pets aggressive? Is there anybody else who would be in the house when I come? You know, all kinds of questions that you should come up with so that you can weed people out before you even have to go to their house. But once you get there and you're hit in the face with the smell of urine, you could either say, I don't think it'll be a good fit, but if everything else is fine, you can go home and you can say, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to turn this job down. There was just something in the home that I was allergic to. I had this situation where I did sit for these very nice people who had several dogs and cats, and they did pee in the house. They're the nicest people in the world, and a lot of times people with these kinds of homes are the nicest people in the world, but you don't want to be in a situation that is unhealthy. I mean, breathing in ammonia from the urine on visits, it's not healthy. I just don't recommend it. So, you can always go after the interview and call them back and say, I had a very bad allergic reaction to something in the house, one of the pets, whatever. Another scenario is an aggressive pet. I made the mistake of going to a client's house. They had two dogs. I believe they were called Abyssinian Dojos, very large white dogs. I had never been so scared in my life on a client interview. I walked into the house. One dog was in a crate, and the guy led me to the living room where we sat down on the couch. And the other dog, very large dog, came up and started growling at me, but not before he stepped on their baby, who was crawling on the floor. Anyone who would allow a dog that size to step on their baby clearly does not have any sense of responsibility. I sat there as he did nothing while his dog got very close to me and growled, and I had to sit perfectly still because I didn't want to have an issue. Fortunately, nothing happened. I did the interview and I left, and I called him and I told him I just didn't feel safe. So it could be something you say right then and there. I wasn't very brave, but you do need to nip it in the bud so that you don't end up in a situation that could be dangerous for you. You definitely want to ask about breeds. If you're allergic, you're allergic. Like I in particular found out that I was allergic to Burmese cats, Shar-Peis, a number of different short-haired dogs that had similar skin issues to Shar-Peis. I think that was about it. But I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where you end up pet sitting for dogs you're allergic to or cats that you're allergic to. I actually didn't realize. Also, tortoiseshell cats I'm allergic to. I would pet these cats, and then I made the mistake of like touching around my eye, and I would have a huge allergic reaction in my eye. And it's just not a good thing to do. So, I mean, I did have people that I was allergic to their tortoiseshell, and I just said, I just won't be able to pet your cat, because it was okay as long as I didn't touch the cat. But you have to be aware of things that could set off any allergies and cause you a problem, because you don't want that. And you certainly need to be aware of aggressive pets. One of the things I had happen twice, I think, which was really weird and annoying, was I showed up as scheduled for the interview and nobody answered the door. There was nobody there. And I did have a time where someone wanted to reschedule, and I just said, I'm sorry, I just can't. They're not respecting you or your time at all if they just don't show up for the interview. So make sure that you're very clear about what time you're coming and when. And it's always a good idea to call them 30 minutes before you're going to arrive, just to remind them I will be coming. And if there's any issue, please call me as soon as possible. There's another issue. You don't want to deal with people who want you to just come to the house without meeting them or their pets. I'll leave a key under the mat. No, no. They must sign a contract. And even if they signed it on time to pet, that's not good enough. You have to meet them. There should be absolutely no, okay, I'll just come and pick up the key under the mat and then go in the house with your dogs who don't know me from Adam. No, don't do that. It's dangerous. It's a liability risk. Just don't do it. And another thing that I've had people do is say, oh, by the way, my neighbor wants you to walk her dog too, so she'll just leave her dog over here and you can walk them both. No, you don't have a contract with the neighbor. If you lost their dog, they could sue you for whatever, because you have no contract with them. You have a contract with the client, not with the client's neighbor. Don't do that. Hoarding. And I'm not talking about animal hoarding, although that's horrific, but I've walked into a house to meet someone and their house has been hoarded. I actually grew up in a hoarded house because my mother was a hoarder, and it's horrific. And it's horrific for the pets because often hoarders don't clean up and they have accidents. Now, I did sit for someone who had cats, and that situation was fine. It's just the house was completely hoarded. And the problem with that, there could be a fire and you might never be able to see the cats because they might be hiding under a pile of God knows what, and the pile may have fallen on top and crushed them. You don't know. So I would avoid taking on any jobs where there's an overload of stuff. That's unacceptable. Then I would say the last thing, how many pets are in the house? You definitely need to find out, because they might say, I just want you to come and walk the dog. And they didn't mention that they had 2 cats. Those cats could get out because you didn't know they were there. What if they're going away? It's not just a dog walk and they're leaving the cats to fend for themselves. And then they blame you if something happens to their cats that you didn't even know were going to be there. So make sure you ask how many pets are in the house, including small mammals like guinea pigs, rabbits, turtles, whatever. Make sure that there aren't any other pets that you don't know about and what the care expected is, if it's just for walking a dog or you also have to care for the other animals. I mean, it's possible they might have somebody else coming in if they have exotic pets and they'd rather have a neighbor or friend who knows them well do that, and they just want you to walk the dog. You don't want to just go in blindly. So write down all the questions that you think are pertinent to your situation and make sure that you ask them, preferably prior to visiting the home, but at least ask them when you get to the home, because having that form filled out on the computer does not tell you everything. Trust me. Well, I think most of the time you're going to love the meet and greet and love the people and love the pets, but bear in mind, you need to understand, are there any aggression issues you need to know, any behavioral issues? I hope that this helped. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. I'd love to answer your questions. And please like and subscribe. It really will help me to get more than my 10 subscribers. So thank you. Take care of yourselves and all your fuzzy buddies. I'll talk to you next time.